Welcome back. AFWERX, the Air Force's innovation organization, will put on the Reimagining Energy for the DOD Challenge. It's looking for both immediate solutions and long-term ideas. Michael Wu is principal at Converge Strategies and a resource security fellow at New America. Michael, welcome. Thanks for coming on the program. The Air Force describes the challenge this way, the reason they're doing this. The need to build more resilient infrastructure and supply chains has become more urgent in the era of great power competition. The time has come to reimagine our usage, generation, transportation, and storage of energy. Are things like this challenge a good way to go about doing what the Air Force says it needs to do?
Francis, first of all, thanks for having me. Absolutely. This is exactly the kind of approach that our military needs to be taking to take seriously the threats that we face in the 21st century. If you look at the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, where our energy supply created huge tactical vulnerabilities for us on the battlefield, and if you think about some of the near-peer adversaries that we're likely to face in the future, and the importance that energy has to every aspect of military operations, it's going to take things like this that are actually reimagining the way in which we fuel and power our forces to bring about the kind of force structure and capabilities that we're going to need going forward.
And what I took away from what I read between the lines of the 6 areas where this challenge will focus is, I read the National Defense Strategy between the lines of every single one of these. Fixed and mobile energy generation, energy transmission and distribution, fixed and mobile energy storage, new warfighting and operational equipment, data availability, energy culture policy and education all strike me as challenges that are explicitly driven by the NDS. Do you think I'm reading that right, Michael?
I think that's right, but I think it goes even further back than that, Francis. I think it relates to the kinds of the way we've changed the way we fight. We used to be a force really heavily set on conventional fights with large battlefields and very clear lines between those battlefields. And now what's important is resilience and flexibility, and that goes for both our forces that would deploy in a conflict, but also our capabilities here at home. So uninterrupted access to electricity, you'll see, is a part of the AFWERX challenge for our facilities and defense assets here at home that are providing critical support to whether it's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, whether it's early warning radar for the possibility of missile strikes. Those are kinds of things that are happening here at home and are powered here at home, but are providing critical capabilities to combatant commanders around the world.
Is it unusual or noteworthy that the issue of data availability for improved planning and decision-making should be of interest to energy practitioners in the DOD?
No, you have to be able to have informed risk. So you have to understand how you're using energy, where you're using energy, and how you can be flexibly deploying that energy in the future to meet whatever risks, whatever needs, whatever urgent needs come up in conflict. And so I think it's critical that commanders have that information in the field, but also that we're optimizing those things here at home as well, because the most secure megawatt is the one you don't need.
It's an interesting way of looking at it, and another way that I think is interesting of looking at the energy issue is thinking about energy culture and education. What do those mean in the context of the Department of Defense, Michael?
Yeah, we need an energy-aware and a climate-aware workforce. I think that's going to be critically important moving forward for a couple of reasons. Number one is we are talking about really high-end capabilities and really advanced technologies, and we need a workforce that's prepared to implement those, both within the service members and civilian workforce. And then the second is, in order to understand the kind of strategic environment that we'll be facing in the future due to things like climate, due to global instability, and due to the advanced nature of some of the threats that we face, it's going to require everybody to be aware not only about the weapon systems and platforms that they operate, but the infrastructure that supports those weapon systems and platforms.
The term climate aware, I think, is particularly apropos because one can believe what one wants to believe about how things got to be the way they are. But for example, in the Arctic, it is what it is. We know that the flow of water there, the freeze is not nearly as hard as it's been historically and so on. What does that term climate aware mean? What does a climate aware official in the department do or think or learn or read, Michael?
Well, I think that's the most important thing about this entire conversation, which is it doesn't matter what's causing the changes in the global strategic environment right now. What matters is the global strategic environment. And we're creating entirely new places for resource competition, as you mentioned in the Arctic, Francis. But we're also creating instability in places all across the globe. And we need to be very cautious and very aware of those situations, those evolving situations, because we've seen that they can lead to conflict. We've seen that they can lead to greater instability, and we're going to need more flexible forces to respond to the challenges of tomorrow than we have today.
But 20 seconds left, Michael. What will you watch for this challenge in particular?
I think the number one thing I'll watch is actual projects come out of them that are meaningful changes to the way the department is conducting its business around energy. The Air Force has done a really great job and a number of different organizations within the DOD have done a really great job of creating these challenges and creating a lot of attention and excitement around changing the energy perspective of the Department of Defense. But what I want to see now is action, and I want to see these technologies transitioned into the regular way we think about running and operating our military.
Michael, thanks very much for joining me. It's great to have you on.
Thanks so much, Francis.